Go.
We'll start with you.
All right.
Your idea.
Yep, I'm Jacob. Some people on YouTube may remember me, Hair Metal Fan 08. This is my good friend Adam.
Hello.
All right. And from the looks of it today, we're having a friendly debate
Oh, yeah, it's going to be friendly.
on, from the looks of it, Halloween 2.
Halloween 2, and you made the opinion of.
Halloween 2018 is the better Halloween 2.
We started this debate years ago at a rec bar, but we always said, why don't we just settle it in a video form or a blog form?
We thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were both fans of this franchise.
And age versus experience here. Age here.
I'm only as old as I feel.
Eh.
Yeah,
That's what
very,
she said.
very good mentality for that.
Well, keep laughing.
Okay, and then on top of that, we also have great classics, Terminator versus Terminator 2.
Yep.
So whatever one you two gentlemen feel comfortable with going first, I'm ready to hear both y'all's opinions.
H4B, excuse me.
You're very kind. That's mighty white. We're going to go with Halloween.
Alrighty.
And since this whole thing was your brainchild, I'd like to hear your arguments first.
Okay. Well, now the thing is, don't get me wrong, I held it back up since it's technically mine. I'm glad I have 2018. I saw it in theaters and loved the hell out of it. Don't get me wrong, it is probably one of the finest sequels ever in a Halloween franchise, but you still can't compete with the original John Carpenter made Halloween 2, his brainchild, his everything. The performances, Jamie Lee Curtis still gave a phenomenal performance, even though it wasn't too much. Donald Pleasance, stronger than ever. Dick Warlock, great Michael Myers. Yes, he had to compete with Nick Castle, who is the greatest Michael Myers, but everything was just structured so well to do a perfect follow-up to the first movie. So it felt familiar and still tried to do new things. And some of the new things worked, some didn't, but overall it was a good, all-together structure. Okay. I'm going to say you next.
Sounds good. I think Halloween
What?
2018.
I'm kidding. Just kidding.
Are you going to let me speak, smartass? I think Halloween 2018 is actually the better Halloween 2. Don't get me wrong. I really appreciate Halloween 2. It was actually one of the first films I saw in the franchise as a child. I was about 12 or 13, and I had just been introduced to the franchise through number 6. And I've always got kind of a sentimental place in my heart for this franchise, because it's what essentially introduced me to horror. And ever since then, I've followed them. I mean, with the good sequels, the bad sequels, everything in between, I'm always there in the theater to see them, or watching them. Now, the thing that I really like about Halloween 2 is I think that Donald Pleasance's performance in 2 is actually better than his one in the first film. I think that he really grasps the Loomis character. I think that just his line delivery, and he seems more certain. He's got better footing on it in this one, more so than he did on the first one, because when he made the first movie, I remember there was a moment where he talked to John Carpenter and he said, I don't know what this is about. I don't know, you're really gonna have to direct me, John, because I don't see how this works kind of in a logical way. But in this one, I think he just kind of goes with it, he embraces it more, and he's just more certain of it. I appreciate the atmosphere of Halloween 2, and I like the fact that you could actually watch 1 and 2 together. And actually there's a cut online called the Mr. Sandman cut. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Might be, but go ahead.
But somebody actually took both films and cut them together and made them a 3-hour film. And you could actually watch them back to back, and it could actually make one film.
Mr. Moderator, we're going to have to research this.
Yes, we definitely will.
Now, where I have problems with Halloween 2. First of all, and the thing with Michael Myers in this franchise is they've never consistently gotten him right. The problems is either the mask, or the performance is off, or the guy's too big, or he's too robotic in his movements. I think that Warlock in 2, he gets it a couple times where he does like the Nick Castle moments, and there's actually a moment in 2 that I absolutely love. The moment where he comes out of the background and everything and attacks the nurse with a hypodermic needle, and just that way that the camera just kind of slowly fades him in, and just how he moves whenever he grabs her.
Yes.
And when he just stops and does that little turn. I absolutely love that. I think that that's consistent with what they did with Castle's work. But the problem that I have with the performance is it's too stiff and it's too zombie-like, and it's missing kind of the movements, and it's missing kind of the childish curiosity and everything that Castle brought to it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it's just not as good. I think that, I mean, it's not terrible, and I wouldn't rank it as one of the worst ones. I think the 1 at 5 was the worst by far. But here's my argument why I think 2018 is a superior film. I think it's a superior film because, one, they actually managed to recapture that same feel as the original. Yes, it's the same storyline all over again. And yes, they did get rid of all the sequels. They did get rid of all the extra baggage. The sister storyline's not in it. And it feels consistent with what Carpenter actually intended. James Jude Courtney is a phenomenal Michael Myers. And actually, he spent time with Nick Castle whenever they were getting ready to film. And he was consulting with him as far as the movements, as far as the presence, and as far as just what can I do to expand upon what you established in that original film. And for the most part, he nails it. The Myers in that is absolutely perfect. The mask, I love the design of the mask. That guy's got the presence down, he's got the movements down, he's got kind of that, and the thing that this film reestablishes is kind of that ambiguity. The ambiguity of whether or not he's human or he's supernatural. And actually, for as many problems as I had with kills, that's one thing they actually stayed really consistent with, I thought. He's phenomenal, and I think that Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in 2018 is actually far better than the performance in 2, because they give her more to do in that film. They give her more to do, and it feels more fleshed out, I would say. Because in 2, she's pretty much drugged about half of the movie, and it's only that last 10 or 15 minutes that she, gets to do anything at all. They give her more to do, and with her post-traumatic stress disorder and alcoholism in that particular film, it feels like they were trying to do more than make just your standard slasher film, and more than just a tribute film to the original. And I like that angle in 2018 more so than I like it in H2O. I thought that they actually handled that masterfully. Mm-hmm. Not that it was bad in H2O, but I mean,
it's just a very successful sequel.
Right. And it's just more believable, I think.
Yes.
And essentially, and this kind of ties into what we talked about, what we're going to talk about in the next video with Terminator 2, Terminator 1 versus 2. She's essentially Sarah Connor, just in a different film. Where she's stockpiled all the guns, she's stockpiled all the weapons, she's getting ready for the big thing that's going to happen, which is Michael getting out of the insane asylum. I like that they kind of kept it restrained, because it's not a very gory film. 2018 is not. Mm-hmm. They actually kept everything kind of in the shadows and off camera, and kept the distant shots of Myers and everything. He's not kind of in your face, and just the way that he looks and the lighting of him and everything is just perfect. It's everything you would want in a sequel.
Okay. You finished?
Go ahead.
I think I lost that track of time here, because I was like, how long is he going? How long is he going? Get lower I could have dove my yard by the time you finished.
Point to Duck for negativity. Hey, he was very polite and straightforward with his argument.
Anyways, now Halloween 2 to kind of go my old school age, because I am going something a little older than Adam. That's his first.
Oh, thanks.
Anyways, but the one thing you are not really touching on with 2018, the one thing that is a big, yes, Jamie Curtis is phenomenal in 2018. Yes, even the newer characters at the point are really good, but you're forgetting the one negative. And now, it's not the actor's fault. He did an acceptable job. He did what he was given, but that's the problem. The character of Dr. Sartarian. Sartain. That name. Sartain. We didn't get that idea why he fucking got that name. Was he German, Russian? What the heck is he?
Canadian.
Whatever.
Well, the actor's Indian.
Actors, yeah, but I'm saying, like, we never got an explanation of where the character's from or anything. We know everything, but through Halloween 1 and 2 even, we got more development of Loomis, who he was, and then the infamous television cut, we knew about him, his relationship becoming with Michael, his doctor, and how he started from being his therapist. I'm not going to count that Rob Zombie explanation, but the true Halloween 2 explaining the relation between Dr. Loomis helping Michael to where the point he knew in 2 seconds, we know that other doctors didn't see it stupidly. He knows there's a side of him. He knows there's no mercy. There's no soul, no nothing. That's what I love about Halloween 2. There's no motivation. No nothing. And I praise the new series for going to that. Yes, they brought in a sister thing unexpectedly, but we went from nothing anymore to finally starting to get a reason for the hunt a bit. But now it's kind of like now 2 things. 1, not finishing my job, and 2, she's my sister. I gotta finish this mission. To him, it's a mission. For the Michael side, it's motivation to do that. Now, but the big kicker is if you look at the new one, it does a good job of there's no motivation. But then the doctor of that series came in. We went from Dr. Loomis being the motivating key of doing everything he can to help Michael, to now I gotta stop this monster. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to do it, even if it means my own life. And that's what 2 did an excellent job of, bringing out everything. He's done everything he could, and now he's doing everything, not as a doctor, but as a man, to stop Michael. The other guy, oh, what was the motivation? Let me hear you speak. Really, that's your motivation? Oh, let me bring them together so I can finally hear his voice. Thank God your head got swished like a bug. But that's the issue. The Doctor character 2018, it's like everything was so good in 2018 until you bring this guy in. The actor does a great job when he's given, but when he's giving, I'm sorry, Blumhouse, you dropped the ball. I don't know. I get that John Carpenter's ashamed of this film, but everything was structured well. The characters, everybody had more development. Even Jamie Lee Curtis's character, yeah, she's drugged up through the film, but there's times where she's more developed. You finally see what happened to, Mr. Bernsheimer. Yep, Bern Schramer. Sorry to the actor, I had to take that stunt. But you finally get what happened with Ben Schramer, and then you get the newest love interest. Wish they could have gone further with that, but had to go somewhere with the next series. But, there's so much development into the plot. Dr. Loomis gets developed, the staff gets developed. Everybody finally gets a development, quote, Michael, beginning to ending. There's a beginning and ending to everyone where Halloween 2 could have been the finishing cap to the series. And when they made the anthology series, the mistake they did was calling it Halloween 3. They should have just called it Halloween Season of the Witch, and this would have been the capital follow-up to where you didn't need any more sequels. Halloween 2 was the film to end it with. While 2018 is a great film, the problem with that film is, yes, it did do a great ending toward the end, but it was an ending where we want to see more. Original Halloween 2, great start, where it was a follow-up, great ending where you didn't need him anymore. So that's why I say begin to end, Halloween 2, way better sequel, way better performances, way better character development. Yes, John Carpenter was forced to write this, but I think for what he was forced to do, he gave a film that was good enough to end the franchise, and that was his goal, and I think he did it well.
Okay. And that's a sound argument. I think that the Sartain character pretty much, that's the one thing that almost derails the film. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think that they could have cut that character, and I don't think they would have really lost that much.
Yeah.
Because the big twist involving him, I have to say, with the exception of Iron Man 3 and the reveal of who the Mandalorian is, that is one of the worst twists I think I've ever seen in film.
Piece of shit.
It's not a bad film up until that point.
Only because I love the Mandalorian as a villain. Go on.
Or is it the Mandarin?
Don't even go with that.
Well, whomever.
Mandarin's
Okay,
better than that.
whoever Ben Kingsley played.
Yes.
That guy.
But the real Mandarin is a badass.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It was such disappointing that the Mandarin was like that. But back to Halloween.
Okay. Before we go too far on that.
Yeah, before I start crying, because I love the Mandarin in the original Halloween, the Iron Man arc.
And I do think that with the Sartain character, it felt like, okay, we got to figure out a way to get Michael and Laurie together. Because by and large, he pretty much avoids her. Because you notice in a lot of the scenes and everything, she sees him in the mirror in that one shot, and that's the castle cameo.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew that.
I did.
But there's a moment she goes up the stairs to find him, he's gone. And then he's kind of walking away, and she shoots him in the shoulder, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
Yeah.
The thing, and I know that a lot of people are a fan of the sister storyline. And I know that a lot of people are a fan of kind of the extension of where that went with the Jamie Boyd character and the later movies. But by giving Michael Myers motivation, that actually takes quite away from his power as a villain and what makes him scary. Because the thing that worked the best about him in the original film is not having that motivation and not having everything explained. That's the problem Rob Zombie had, is that he liked to explain every single detail in his particular series. Now, I know that with that particular film, he was basically under marching orders. They said, you know, make your own film, and you don't have to copy John Carpenter at all. Which, I mean, I understand to some degree, and I understand Zombie was kind of trying to put his own stamp on it, was trying to make it something that was unique from what had been established before. But the problem that if you explain too much about a villain, you don't have that sense of mystery about it. You don't have that ambiguity. You don't have that certain level of, I think it makes him less scary, actually.
And you gotta do one more time on Monterey. One thing you don't also not address. Halloween 2 was very subtle on this. 2018 was also. So you need to address this. Halloween 2 had very subtle comedy and sexual innuendos, and had the best rack in the entire damn series with the nurse into next to 4. But anyways,
Kathleen Kmart says, "Hold my beer." You obviously forgot number 4.
that's what I'm saying. Going to 4 later on. But let me also address this, because again, Halloween 2 is very subtle on this. The comedy. 2's was very a few scenes, but most of the part it was serious. One of the biggest things I had, and I just realized this, the over-the-top comedy teen drama shit in 2018. Now I'll let you defend that.
Okay,
That's
have
our regular programming.
I have no defense there, because I think that was over the top. I think the humor with the stepdad and everything with the dad jokes was too much.
And peanut butter on a penis meme.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But one of the things that I liked that they did, yeah, the teen drama stuff was a little too much for this. But I think they drew a blank and they were just trying to figure out a way, okay, how can we get Allison separated from the party? How can we get her in front of Myers? How can we kind of close the film? I think that was the thinking behind it. While I won't defend the drama, and the Oscar moment where he sees Myers in the background and the floodlights are going off. And he sees him in front of him, the lights go out, and then he's like right over here in the background. Lights come on, he's like right here. Lights go off, he's behind him. I think that actually was kind of a callback to the feel of the way that the character was done in the original film, where he's got that ambiguity where you think he's there 1 second and then he's somewhere else. And in that respect, I can't defend the teen drama. I can't defend that part of it. But what I can say is that it did lead to one of the best sequences in the film, and honestly in the entire franchise, which was that.
Yeah, let's not talk about that confused character that I didn't know he was going to flirt with the main character's boyfriend or her.
Couldn't remember who that was.
Are you talking about Oscar?
Yeah, the bubbling sidekick.
The
Well, that's what I'm referring to. That he was in that sequence. That was him, and he was the one that they actually found on the fence.
Yeah.
well, my defense is we've all been teenagers before, didn't we? Do stupid shit.
And
I think
yes.
I think he technically captured the stupidity of teenage in that scene.
Come on, I saw that everybody was just being laughably stupid and then just laughing their asses off. And that takes away from the horror.
I was actually kind of scared of that scene. Because at one, he's completely intoxicated, so no matter what he does, he can't defend himself. So Myers being completely focused and has the ability of the motion light on his side, it's terrifying because you don't know where he's at. And you can't rely on your senses anymore because you're fucked up. So in a way, I think that scene was very structured well if you take in the fact of how things were actually going. Myers knew what was going on, and he used it to his advantage.
Here's another thing, too, with that scene. When she finds him on the fence, and just her reaction to that, and then Myers coming out like right behind her, right behind the body and everything, and just how, I thought that was really, really well done. Because I think the thing that it did perfectly is it captured her fear of the situation. And I think that is it just me, or does that actress look a lot like young Jamie Lee?
Yeah, she had a close to similar clothes style.
And you would believe that they were related.
Yeah.
While I won't defend the teen drama, and I think that's one of the weaker aspects of the film, I just like that they went back to basics. I felt like they made something that was for the fans. I felt like, basically with this particular one, they were trying to, because Jamie Lee's not getting any younger, let's face it. She's in her 60s. And this next one that they're coming out with, which is called Halloween Ends, she said it's going to be her last one that she ever does.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't see Jamie Lee doing another one of these in 20 years. So, I think that the idea is let's close this out as strong as we possibly can.
Yeah.
We've heard your complaints. We know what you think works, what doesn't work, all that. I'm not saying that it's not a completely flawed approach, but I think it was about the best way that they could have closed it out. You know as well as I do, they're probably going to bring this thing back in 10 to 15 years.
We're going to be ancient by the time we get it's made another Halloween, and we're like, 20 years ago.
Well, John Carpenter ain't complaining too much. Even
He'll
because
be
he gets
he'll be dead. His family will be taking checks.
right, because he gets the checks and everything every time that they make one of these.
Yep.
So he'll be dead. The family getting checks.
Yeah, so his family's going to be off pretty well, don't you think?
Yep. No shit. You might as well be married to the family.
There's one more thing that I want to touch on about 2018.
Okay.
Versus 2.
All right. I definitely got a good counterpoint.
Okay. The problem that I have, one of the big problems I have with Halloween 2 is I think that the beauty of what made that original Halloween film work, it was done Hitchcock style with camera tricks, and you didn't see everything, and you had to kind of use your imagination.
Yes.
That's one thing I think that Carpenter did beautifully in that film. And a lot of filmmakers, they don't do things like that now. Now it's all about the gore. Now it's about everything being in your face and not subtle. And I just love that old school approach.
Yes.
Ridley Scott did this beautifully in the first Alien film too. There's a lot of, with the chest burster scene, and you see a little bit of gore in the scene where the alien attacks Yaphet Kotto. But the way that he films it and everything, you don't see everything. and you hear the sounds, or like the camera comes away and everything anytime that the jaw of the alien hits him.
Yeah.
Well, they do a similar thing in Halloween with the knife attacks,
Yeah.
where you don't see, like when he picks up Bob, PJ Souls' boyfriend.
Yeah.
The way that he's got him up, and you just see the knife pull back, and then it shows the knife, and then he kind of keeps on his arm and just goes like that.
Yeah.
You don't actually see the strike, and you don't see the attack.
Yeah.
And I think that in film, what you don't see is much scarier than what you do see.
Okay. Now, the one thing you haven't really highlighted, whether it's 2018 or Halloween 2, as much as what I praised him too is how well Michael handled his environment. He was in a new environment. He wasn't going to house like a freaking ding dong, Avon calling. He was in one environment, and that was the hospital. And he was quickly a master of that environment. Going around, punching out tires certainly, so he knew nobody could get away. Nobody was going to leave his sight. Then stealthily planned to go every attack. The hospital hot tub scene, the scalpel kill, the knife, and other more kills. He was a master quickly of his environment, up until when he finally got blinded by a lucky shot from Dr. Loomis, but still, Michael was a master of his new environment. It needed only one environment to work, and he made that hospital work. And even before then, when he was at the house, Michael was more in a weakened state, and he realized that. He was scuffled up, bloody. That's what I really love the 2 being a continuation. You saw Michael in almost a weaker state, and now he's human-like. And the problem I have with the rest of the series is that they try to make him look supernatural, that he can heal from anything. No, where Michael is better is that he's shown damage, shown that he's human. And now he has to adjust his battle plan a little differently. And same thing with Loomis and the rest of the characters.
Well, in 2018, you did get a little bit of that sense.
A
A little bit of that sense where he was human and yet could be damaged, and yet there was kind of that supernatural side. So I do, while I understand that of him being a master of his environment in that particular film.
Not a big goof gorilla that's rusting in the back of a police car.
Well,
Well,
in fairness, he was hit.
my honest opinion, going back to the Halloween 2, you saying him a master of the hospital. Technically, that could be disproven in 2 scenes. One, when he stabs a bunch of pillows. If Michael was actually a master, he would have pulled those sheets back first before stabbing. So, again, it proved that he still had some stupidity to him. 2, he walked straight through the hospital glass doors, knowing clear as day there's somebody sitting with a gun. Myers, on the other hand, would have stood in the back, waited till they got distracted, and vanished.
Well,
And would have reappeared somewhere else.
now I will appear to my moderator here.
Okay.
You have 2 things, Michael, and this is a good thing. The earlier series, 2018, Halloween Kills, that another series when he's not supernatural does a good job of handling. Because people ask why Michael is that tough and that strong about being immortal. The psychopathic mind. The mind goes so far. And nowadays you have to go with drugs, but Michael is already this way. Michael Wayne is so smart and mindful and predator-like. He doesn't give a shit. He will walk through anything, walk through the fires of hell, even if it's burning him on the inside out. He knew when he was going down glass, and it doesn't matter if it damages him. I don't care if they shoot me and how many bullets it takes to knock my ass down. I'm gonna get back up. I have a purpose, and I'm just gonna keep on going until the very end. That's the same motivation he had. 1, 2, 2018, Kills. He doesn't give a shit. And he's a master of his own physical body and mental game on them. He knows he can get them to where they're at their weakness when he thinks they're down and out. And what happened when that guy shot him? Oh, he's down. Same thing in Kills.
Okay, but my argument to that is he actually isn't brute force, though. He doesn't just go straight through, hoping to God they don't shoot. He knows, okay, I've been shot 6 times. That didn't feel fucking great. I don't want that again, so at that point, he's not going to give Loomis the ability to shoot him. He's going to hide. He's going to wait. He'll strike again in the hospital or outside the hospital when they try to leave. So I feel him just busting through was a unlikely Michael Myers move, especially how he handled stuff in the first movies, behind the shadows, disappearing, reappearing in one spot, those type of things. He never really showed a brute force, because if that was the case, the instant he got up the steps, he would have charged Laurie Strode in the first movie. He wouldn't have just stood there. He was trying to scare her. He enjoyed what he was doing. That's why he didn't charge. So I don't feel the brutality of him in that movie made sense. Unlike in Halloween Kills, you pissed him the fuck off. So at this point, he has no care. But at certain times, he still is willing to hide in the shadows if he needs to.
Now, I will agree with you on one area. The supporting characters in the new series are kind of a mixed bag. The Big John and Little John storyline, why on earth?
Tell the moderator what was your reference, because I didn't get it until I started watching Mad TV.
Oh, look what I can do. I already knew that guy. That's all.
Yeah, we were in the theater, he and I and Sheila went to see it. And we're sitting there, and I don't know what it is, but every time I see this guy...
Nobody got it, by the way.
Every time I see this guy in movies or whatever, Stewart is automatically the first thing that I think of.
Yep.
And I thought I'm usually quiet during movies. I don't like to yell things out. I don't like to participate too much. But, in almost 38 years of living, I felt like, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
So when he was on screen, I actually went, look what I can do, like that out loud. And nobody in that theater laughed.
Dead silent.
I
You
said,
can hear a pin drop when he said
Well, I got lucky and went to go see it with my dad, and my dad's the one who introduced me to Mad TV, so he definitely got the reference to look what I can do.
And I said to Sheila and I said to him after we walked out of the theater, I said, this must have been a really young crowd, or they've never seen Mad TV. Because, most people that have, our age and everything would have gotten it.
Oh, yeah.
And would have, laughed or yelled out lines or whatever, but...
It was like telling a Jesus joke in the middle of Bethlehem. Nothing.
Pretty much. But, look, I understand. In film now, representation is a very important thing.
Yes.
Films, there's always a minority character, or in this instance, there's a gay character or whatever. And, I don't have a problem with representation as long as it fits within the particular film and actually is part of the plot. And in this particular film, it just felt like it was there just for the sake of being there. And they could have cut out these two characters.
Yes.
They could have cut out these two characters and they would have lost nothing.
The problem was, and sorry to interrupt you on this, the only thing that Halloween 2 had to adapt to is by the time Halloween 2 came out, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street was becoming prominent, so the only thing they really had to adapt on, not anything modern culture, just the killings. Michael wasn't killing enough. He only killed like one or two people, whereas in Halloween 2 he kills more. But it actually is subtle kills. And the one thing I praise kills on, Michael to me, and Blake the moderator, you can throw your 2 cents in this.
Okay.
Jason, when he kills, he's finishing the job. Freddy is like my cat Marty, wherever he is. He likes to play around with his victims before he kills them, like a cat and mouse. Michael, not so much. He's kind of like a weird mix of the two. Kills, either enjoys art, or kills to let them suffer. Then watch him slowly die, as if like he's admiring whatever painting he made. 2 is the best example of that. And up until what he did in Kills. 2 basically started it, and it worked. When the scalpel kills from everything else, where you just let them suffer before they die, or he would kill one.
Some of the greatest horror films ever made, though, have a really low body count. Candyman 1992. He only kills one person on screen in that entire film, which is the psychiatrist. Everything is kind of kept, like in the instance in that scene where he shows up in Virginia Madsen's apartment.
Yes.
And the best friend shows up with the flowers. She walks in, the door shuts, you see Candyman and her lock eyes, and then you hear kind of the aftermath of it. And then you see the aftermath of it. I think in that film there's only like 4 deaths.
Yeah.
Virginia Madsen's character dies.
Yes.
The best friend dies, the psychiatrist dies, and then, the Candyman dies, obviously. Dies.
We forget also her husband.
And yes, her husband. But,
And the dog.
yes, they find the dog. But the thing that I think works best in a horror film, and I think that the Friday the 13th movies kind of miss the point of completely.
Laurie.
I know how I'm always open to talking with this.
And the later Halloween films missed. It's about suspense. It's about build-up. It's about scaring you to think of something that actually might happen, then maybe not happen, and then something you don't expect happens. I'm kind of a fan of like old school suspense,
I can see that with some of the later Friday the 13th films.
like in the Candyman movie. I know that this is slightly off topic, and this is a different franchise altogether and a different type of movie. However, the thing that works beautifully in that film is the build-up. Because you get all that build-up to the Candyman. You hear all the stories. You hear you hear that monologue at the very beginning. You don't actually see him until halfway through the movie.
Yes.
Halloween does something very similar with this. You don't actually see Michael Myers in the mask until about 45 minutes to 50 minutes in the film. It's all about build-up.
Yeah.
It's all about creating that dread and that tension and that, what's going to happen once he comes to Haddonfield? I think that less is more in that regard, and I think that the better build-up you have, the better suspense you've established, and by keeping things kind of left to the imagination, it makes the film more frank.
Right. The one thing too actually did a good job of, and I like this about Michael's character, is how much he just takes and keeps going. He doesn't, at this point, it kind of teases the audience too. Go from, is he human or is he not? And a good thing that 2018 Kills did, started in too. Even though he got knocked down, how is he when he gets back up? Yeah, he's bruised and scarred and torn his mask and everything. He's still getting back up, still moving, go find the knife again, kill the witnesses, keeps going, breaking through glass, taking the shots of eye, up until even the flame where he's walking through the flames, burning him up until his death. It teases the audience, takes a picture of the brain out where he goes, is he really human or supernatural? And even puts a point to the challenge of the doctor character. Can he really stop him? Can he stop, in a way, his creation? He didn't mean to create him, but he brought it out. Can he stop him?
But the one good thing about that franchise is that Loomis was consistent throughout. He was the one character that his arc was, Donald Pleasance was such a great British actor. He treated that movie like Shakespeare. And he's the one, and this is kind of like Jamie Lee is now, he's the one that elevated these films, that made them above just, your regular, no offense meant, Friday the 13th or whatever. Because you've got a classically trained British actor that's been in everything, and he takes it seriously, and he's enjoying his time. And actually, there's an interview with him that he did one time. I think it was during the making of 5. And the person interviewing him said, Donald, how many of these are you going to make? And he said, well, I stopped at 22. He enjoyed his time on set, and he took it seriously, and he didn't mince words with anybody that, like a director that came in that didn't take it seriously. Because he didn't get along with the one that made 5, from what I've read. And the one from 6 actually said that he was boring and cut about 90% of his scenes. But that guy was just out for a 2-picture deal. He wasn't out to make a good Halloween film.
Yeah.
So money was his big motivator. And I do see your argument in the sense that some of the stuff in 2 did come over to the new movies. I do see that. But I think they kept just enough of the original, what made the character in the original film.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they did, I heard it described the other day as a combination of the one from the first film, zombies, and Warlock from 2. But honestly, I see more Castle than I do Warlock in the James Jude Courtney performance. As far as the movements, like the scene in the bathroom, for instance, when he gets the mask from the British podcasters.
Yes.
The way that he moves, he just puts one foot, stops, and then takes like 2 steps, stops, and just really slowly, methodically comes through that bathroom right till he gets to the stall. I think they did just enough for the fans of the original one, and I think they did it kind of in a way that the people that like the sequel say, okay, this is consistent with other things that they've established too. I think it's kind of a good marriage of the best of both worlds. Warlocks, and is it just me or is it Dick Warlock like the best name ever?
Yeah. I think it should be like a He-Man type movie.
Yeah. And he actually doubled Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws. Did you know that?
Huh.
In the cage scene.
Oh, good. Good figure. I haven't seen Johnson forever, so I have to rewatch that film.
That's another one that uses the imagination
Yeah.
beautifully. But that was mostly due to technical problems because Spielberg couldn't get that shark to work to save his life.
Nope.
So he had to kind of work around it and figure out other ways to suggest the presence of the shark being on the screen.
Yeah.
And basically the scenes with the animatronics were the only ones that would actually work halfway.
Yeah.
There's a couple moments in it though that are a little shaky, where you can tell, oh, that thing's just not, that thing's limp.
Yeah.
It's the moment when it comes up out of the water and lands on the boat,
Mm-hmm.
and just how that looks. But the moment when it actually comes out, it looks real.
Yeah.
And the moment, there's 2 or 3 moments in the film, I know we're getting off a little bit, but there's 2 or 3 moments when it works beautifully. One of which is the first time you see it in the estuary, when it actually comes out and it tips the boat over and then grabs that guy by the leg.
Yeah.
That looks real. The scenes where they shoot the shark with the harpoon, you see the head come out like real quick.
Yeah.
That one, and then that moment where it comes out of the water right before it takes down the orca.
Yeah.
That looks real.
Yes.
But getting back to what we were talking about and everything. Dick Warlock isn't bad in 2. He's not bad. I just feel like I don't blame him entirely for this. Because he's actually said in interviews, because Deborah Hill, the producer, actually said, I didn't like his performance because I felt like he was too stiff, like in the moment where he goes down the stairs. And that moment when he goes through that plate glass door and everything. He felt like he was too stiff and too robotic. And Warlock said in an interview, he said, well, if that was the problem, they should have said something and I would have adjusted my movements.
Right.
So while I don't blame him entirely for that, I think that it would have probably done him some good to have somebody like Nick Castle on set and do what Courtney did. Have that consultation and kind of get the movements down and get more of the presence and more of that stuff right. I think that if he'd done that, he would have been a pretty good Myers, and I think that he would have been remembered as probably one of the best. The one from 4 and 6 is good.
Yes.
George Wilbur, I think his name
Yeah.
is. George P. Wilbur.
Yes.
I tell you what, the first time, and I had mentioned that 6 was the first one I'd actually seen in the theater. When he comes out of the shadows and he grabs that nurse,
Oh yeah.
that was legit frightening.
Yeah.
Because he basically had everything that was, never will be about that character down like that.
Yes.
And he's, out of all of them, he keeps enough consistency with the original performance, and yet kind of adds like a different layer to it.
Yeah.
Out of all of them, he's one of them that I would not want chasing me down.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Yes, actually. The problems that Halloween 2 had, we gotta look at this one way. It was forced. Everything about it. Carpenter felt it should have finished at 1, and at some points I agree. But what happened was the studio needed a sequel. A problem with Hollywood today is a sequel might as shit. Whether it's Halloween 2, Highlander 2, movies that don't need a follow-up. Right? We have a hit, we gotta make a sequel. Carpenter was put to the wall. Make me a sequel. To the point where he just didn't give a shit and started drinking and writing it. But he knew what he had against him. His back was up against a wall. He didn't want to put another movie out of Michael Myers. But he thought to himself, okay, you know what? If I got to put it out, I gotta finish this. I gotta finish Myers. I gotta finish Laurie. I gotta finish Loomis. I gotta finish everybody. So what I say about Halloween 2 is that it did such a good job back against the wall, back against everything against Carpenter. Carpenter basically was like, throw me out, it's like shining a turd. Throw me a big freaking turd, shine it up, put it out there. And Carpenter's like, you know what? They want this? Fine, I'm gonna give it. And I'm gonna give it final to where I never have to touch this dang thing again. And what did he do? Finish Myers, finish Lewis, finish everybody. Backwards and Swans, the same thing on a Put Return here. He had to put everything on the line for this movie. And it worked. And it's still praised today. Still talked about today. And with these new 4K collections, Blake, what was the ones you wanted to saw out the most besides the first Halloween?
The 4K?
Yes.
Halloween 1 and 2. I had no intentions of the other ones.
Exactly. People are still collecting this film to this day after Halloween 1. But after Halloween 1's done, everybody goes straight to 2. The perfect follow-up. And if it wouldn't be for Halloween 2, you wouldn't have the great legacy and challenge. Yes, 2018 does a great job of bringing back everything to basics. Bringing back everything with Easter eggs to 1. But if it wasn't for 2, given the challenge of what he had back then to now the challenge of today, to create a just as good sequel to Halloween 1. That's a challenge in itself because today's horror films just don't have it when they reboot or re-sequel a franchise. Texas Chainsaw Massacre still has not captured it. The remake, I liked, me and the moderator as kids liked Nightmare on Elm Street remake. We still don't think it comes anywhere close to Robert Englund's legacy. Yeah. And now, we were lucky we got Scream 4, that was a decent Scream movie, but Scream 3 was terrible. Scream 2 wasn't that good. So it's like we don't know if Scream 5 is going to be good or not. We look forward to it, but that's a problem. When they moderately do these horror films, they don't capture the essence. 2018 was the closest they captured to it, but it was because they had the challenge of 1, 2, and even somewhat 4 and H2O. And if it didn't have those films, 2018 would have nothing to measure up to.
Well, that's a valid argument, and I think that John Carpenter, he was pressured enormously. And he said in the interview, the only thing that got me through the writing of that was a 6-pack Miller Lite. That's the only thing. Mm-hmm. He said, because I couldn't figure out how to write this thing. I couldn't figure out how to expand upon what we had already established and done. So while I agree with that argument in that regard, I think that and you are correct in the assessment that the problem with studios is that they get greedy. Once they have a hit, they get greedy and they want to put out more of these things so they can make more money and kind of keep the revenue in. And I mean,
in the words of ABBA, money, money, money in a rich man's world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that another problem that they run into is studio interference. Because they have too many of these talking heads on the sets.
I think the biggest one we can go to is, what was his name in the original Halloween franchise? Macabre or something like that?
Mustafa Akkad.
Mustafa Akkad. And we did, especially in the later parts of the series, so we expanded this franchise too long. And H2O Resurrection that go on.
The problem is that a lot of these studio heads and everything, they think in terms of, they don't think in terms of artistic integrity and quality. They're thinking more, okay, we can take something, we can put a popular name on it, and we know there's a fan base, and regardless if it's good, mediocre or just complete trash, we know we're going to get people in the theater no matter what. I do agree with you in the sense that 2 was an important sequel, in that the sequels after and everything had kind of a measuring stick to follow up to. I do agree with you on that end. But I think the thing that happened kind of along the way is that they, instead of hiring people who were technically, they hired people that were directors, but they weren't really fans. And you get the sense that with kind of like the later sequels, there's just not that same level of passion. There's not that same level of, love for it. Like, I think that number 4, 5, and 6, you can just tell they're just directed by people who are directors for hire. They're not people that are fans of the franchise. They don't have like a clear vision. Not a clear vision necessarily, but I mean, they don't have a clear idea of what works, what doesn't work. They kind of are driven by money more so than anything else.
That sounds like a debate between kills and 4.
Huh?
That sounds like a debate between 4 and kills. Which one's a more money machine make?
And I mean, the thing about 2018, and why I will always defend it despite its flaws, is it feels like it's made by fans. It feels like it's made by somebody that actually grew up watching that original film and just really appreciating what works, what doesn't, and trying to keep to the essence of that. I think even in Kills, as many problems as I had with that film, they still continue a lot of that stuff over. Michael Myers is perfect in that film. With what Jamie Lee Curtis has to work with, I think she's phenomenal.
Yes.
I do have kind of a problem with the prolonged killings in it. I do feel like they should have kind of kept it less. Like the one scene where he attacks the couple.
Yes.
The Black Kids couple, the one from the first film. Or not Black Kids, the Black Kids' parents in that first film. That scene is just prolonged and just seems to go on forever. It's just unpleasant. You just want to get out of it. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So, at least with these new movies, you get a sense that they're trying to make something good. They're trying to make something that's, not only a tribute to the original film, you feel like they're trying to make something that they know that the fans are going to like. I do think in Kills that the whole mob mentality thing was a little weak.
Yeah.
With the whole evil must die chant and, the mobs forming and everything. And don't get me started on the Tommy Doyle performance because that was awful.
Yeah.
But
So much I forgot.
at least they're trying to do something new with it. At least they're trying to go in and they're trying to make quality films.
And just to interrupt, because I saw him recently on Wheel of Fortune, the guy who played Tommy Doyle. Would you say his performance was a lose a turn or bankrupt?
Bankrupt. I would say bankrupt. But they're trying to do things while not forgetting what made that original film so potent and powerful, and why people are still talking about it 40 years after the release. That's my argument for 2018 and the new ones.
Okay. I hate to do it only because I do agree with Jake that Halloween 2 is the better film out of the two. But I feel your argument outweighs his. Only because he took stabs at certain things that could be explained. Unlike the stabs that were took at his movie that don't really make a lot of sense. that look like sloppiness. So I feel your argument wins in this, even though my opinion is Halloween 2 is better. So, whenever y'all ready for Terminator, I'm interested to hear what you got.
Let's take a second to stretch your legs first.
All right, that's good.